Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Classic Elite Reviews. My name is Tony with the ClassicElite.com Retro and Modern Video Game Podcast. Today is the first part series of a multi-part review we're doing for DC Universe Online. DC Universe Online is an action, massive multiplayer online game brought to us by DC Comics, Sony Online Entertainment, and Warner Brothers Games. It's the first of a multi-part review, and I ask that you would just be patient over the next few weeks as we cover different aspects of the game. This game has been released for the PlayStation 3 and the PC, and the game portion we'll be reviewing is for the PS3, so there's probably some subtle differences between the two versions. I do want to start by saying it's nice to have a company finally make a massive multiplayer online game on a console. Sure, we've had some Final Fantasy and some EverQuest and maybe a couple others, but we've had lots and lots of promises of other great MMO games and very few deliveries. So I'm very happy that Sony Online Entertainment has decided to bring this one to the PlayStation 3. What you'll see today is very early on in the game, some of the introductory missions, character creation, story, and character abilities. Sony has brought a lot of artists, storytellers, and so on from the DC comic world, so if you're a superhero fan, expect authentic canon in this game, which is kind of nice to have. As far as the story, it goes that Brainiac has returned to take over Earth to defeat Superman, and the superheroes and supervillains were so preoccupied with fighting with each other that they never saw it coming. So now they're in a colossal battle against Brainiac. In the mix of it all, Lex Luthor has developed a way to turn normal human citizens into superheroes or supervillains. So you become either a superhero or a supervillain, one of the normal civilians who is now morphed because of Lex Luthor. So throughout the game, you help, encounter, and are mentored by real superheroes or supervillains. So it's kind of nice to work with some of the famous canon characters that we've all come to admire. As far as character creation goes, there are a lot of options here. Typical to what you might find in an MMORPG, even though this is an action game. I was really impressed with the character creation and a lot of the different things that they were doing and freedoms they were allowing you to have with your superhero characters. You get to choose male or female, superhero or supervillain. The control is all in your hands. I really like the option you can create your own hero directly from scratch, or you can actually take a superhero template like a Superman, Batman, or maybe a Joker as a supervillain, and you can modify that template. For my two characters, I started with the templates of Superman and Batman, and just went from there to make them into real men. You can change their hair, emblem, cape, spandex. You can make them look more like a sissy or more like an amazing hardcore superhero, whatever you want to do. So I really felt like they went with a nice mix of depth and practicality. They didn't get too crazy on the character creation, but there are tons and tons of options. You can literally spend an hour just creating your character. You choose from several different worlds and then you just plug in. The worlds have different levels of pop and player versus player opportunities. And so when you start the game, you start in Brainiac's ship and with a mentor named Oracle who's kind of guiding you through the ship. Immediately you're thrust into action. You start using your powers, attacks, melees, all from the beginning, which I really like because in a lot of RPG style games you have to really build really from the scratch up and you don't get to dive into the fun until hours later. This game lets you start, you can fly as Superman, you can be an acrobat, more like Batman, right from the beginning. So it's a really nice feature that you get to use a lot of those powers right away. It's something fun. And there does seem to be a lot of room to expand as well. Near the end of the ship, you are kind of paired up with your superhero. So in my case, with my one character, I met Superman at the end of Brainiac's ship, and we fought together to defeat a boss. And then I'm kind of ported back to the city. Graphically, this game is very beautiful, especially for MMO standards. With all the data flying around, it's sometimes challenging to make it a graphically gripping game, but they did a really good job. There's not a lot of popping. It does happen sometimes. Colors seem to be very bright. Color models look great, and that's all thanks to the Unreal 3 engine. As far as controls, they handle really well so far. I was pretty impressed with the controls. It's definitely a third-person action game that works well. It reminded me of playing Infamous. It's not perfect, but it works really well, and it's rated really well because of the gameplay. Overall, this game looks very promising so far. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm excited about reviewing in Chapter 2 of our reviews. I'm excited about reviewing the character development a little bit more and how you level up. So please stay tuned for that.